We Talk Fantasy is back, the Godzilla Media Fantasy Football Podcast. We are getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving. Your teams, your takes are getting more tasty than ever before. The race to the postseason is officially here. Before we talk about the world of fantasy football, let's talk about Lily and David Fine Jewelers. Route 50, the shops of Wilt. We mentioned November. We mentioned the holiday season. We are approaching Black Friday, where there's going to be some great deals going on at Lily and David Fine Jewelers. Maybe you're ready to pop the question. Maybe you're ready for the engagement this holiday season. Save some cash for yourself and buy the ring you'll continue to get compliments on for years to come. It is Lily and David Fine Jewelers. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to David, everybody over there who continues to help people across upstate New York like me, family-owned and operated business. If you're looking to support that this holiday season, the best place to do it is Lily and David Fine Jewelers, Route 50, the shops of Wilton. When you stop in, tell them you heard about it from We Talk Fantasy. Brag about your fantasy football teams with them. You probably can't do that to your fiance, soon-to-be, maybe your wife, but you can do it to Alyssa and David. They will listen to you. You can buy some great jewelry this holiday season. It's Lily and David Fine Jewelers. All right, guys, we have the WTF moment. We have the headlines. We're going to keep this a quick one, a 30-minute in and out. Let's do this instead. We're going to pass over the WTF. If you want to combine it for your headline of the week, we can do that. But when we look back at week 10 of the fantasy football world, Chet, I will start with you, where you, for our visual audience, you've got the Cliff Kingsbury, as I call it, background here. It's not your home. Sorry, spoiler alert. What jumps out to you at week 10?
It's actually going on the market soon. So you guys,
oh, is it?
If you guys would like to move into my humble abode, I don't think I'm going to be staying here very long because they're a dumpster fire.
Do you know any real estate agents they can call, by the way? If they want to buy?
I know a few. Just slide into my DMs and I will be sure to take care of you. Ooh. Wait, so are we doing what? Our WTF moments right now?
Yeah. Either WTF or headline. If you want to combine both, you can, wherever you'd like to go with this.
See, this one I think relates to real football and fantasy football. And I think I'm going to tell Kyle to take off the headset. It's Josh Allen and the Bills right now. The numbers are jarring. Obviously, they lost a game that was super exciting. They shouldn't have lost. They had that game won multiple times. But for Josh Allen, the guy that was the king of fantasy for the first half of the season, hands down QB1 in fantasy football, consistent, putting up huge numbers. The numbers aren't terrible anymore, but it's the points that are left on the field and the negative points. And so there's a lot of stats that back this up that definitely had me, grabbing my attention. I think the biggest one is that Josh Allen leads the NFL in interceptions this year.
And
wow.
Total turnovers.
This goes to this, Kyle. Josh Allen has the most turnovers by any player since 2020. More than Matt Ryan, more than Derek Carr, more than Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, a lot more than Carson Wentz. And I'm just like, I know there's been a lot this year. How many fumbles, Kyle? 3 or 4? He's got 6 lost fumbles or just 6 fumbles?
18 turnovers. 16 of them were caused by Josh Allen.
Yeah. So, just do the math on those points. I mean, if you just, half of those, most leagues, a turnover is -2. And not only, I think that the other huge knock right now for Allen and the people that are on that Bills offense, looking at, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, a lot of these turnovers are happening in the red zone. So not only is it a -2 for Allen, but you're talking about a massive swing when you talk about losing potential touchdowns for himself and for the surrounding cast. So, Kyle, I guess going into your WTF moment, but tossing a question to you. Part 1 of the question, where was your confidence in this team after I almost said some really bad words, after they beat up the LA Rams versus how you feel right now?
Obviously, after the Rams game, the confidence was probably like, yeah, this is Super Bowl. Yeah. Period, end of story.
10 out of 10.
What's that?
10 out of 10.
100%. Ironically, the confidence level is a 9. And the main reason I say that, Josh Allen is not going to continue to turn over the ball at this rate. And the thing that I go back to is last year. Look at where the Bills were last year. 7-6, 3 weeks ahead. They're 7-6 at this point. Every single person in the NFL is questioning what's wrong with the Bills. What are they doing? Yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden they come out in week 14 and just become that absolute juggernaut that everyone's like, okay, the Bills are here. I don't anticipate the Bills keeping up this turnover rate. 2.5 turnovers a game is obviously literally the only thing right now that hurts the Bills. The injuries, the inconsistencies, everything else has been able to be managed. The only thing they can't manage is the turnovers. And you hit the nail on the head where the turnovers in the red zone are what
killing. Didn't he have like a streak of like his first 3 years? He did not throw a red zone interception.
Yep, you literally stole the words right out of my mouth. An unreal streak. I think he fell short of setting the NFL record because he ended up turning it over one other time. But
is this the Brian Dable effect?
The
lack thereof.
No, I just think it's there's mental going on with Josh because the plays are actually working. If you look at a lot of the stuff that Josh Allen has set up by Ken Dorsey, there are people open. It is Josh Allen being really aggressive. Now that just looking at that last Vikings play, guess what? Gabe Davis was open. Yeah. It was underthrown. Yeah. And I think when you look at the fantasy perspective, you're 100% right with some of the concerns with Josh Allen. I mean, but I don't think there's any panic in terms of what you do with any of those players. It will get fixed. We're in week 11. There's still 6 weeks left of fantasy football season. Everything's gonna be fine. I really don't think it's gonna be that critical. It's that crappy stretch that you have.
I'm picturing the GIF right now with the dog.
Everything's fine.
The house is on fire. Wearing a Bills jersey, drinking his Josh Allen mug. Everything's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I also, by the way, Ray, before you go on, I caught that what you just did there. In my mind, I think there's 4 weeks left. The confidence level of you, I do like that. That was noted. His math is not off. He's like a head coach in the NFL. He knows where his teams want to go to the championship.
Yep.
I love it.
My WTF moment's Justin Fields. Just period. I'm just going to just leave it there. Also, I actually kind of have 2. My number 1 is Justin Fields. I mean, if you listened to us 3 weeks ago,
probably
and you got
it's probably been 5 weeks now,
and you got Justin Fields, good job. Yeah. Great job. He is gonna finish probably in the top 3 of quarterbacks, and more than likely QB1 since he popped off 5 weeks ago.
Can we pause right there, both of you? Who are the quarterbacks you would have rest of season above Justin Fields? If there was, you can have any quarterback you want for your playoff team. Who are you putting ahead of Justin Fields right now?
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are my only 2. And the only reason I say that is because it's possible to stop Justin Fields. Nobody's done it yet. You just have to look at how do you stop Lamar Jackson? Because they're very identical. Very, very, very identical. You just have to put that same game plan, and it's possible. It is 110% possible. So I would take Josh Allen and Patty over Fields right now.
What about you guys?
I would agree. There's a third one I'm going to keep close to the vest because it's a part of my take. So 3, and you'll hear the other one here in a second.
Kyle, I think I do agree with you. Another point to be made about Josh Allen, we bring it up every year. I wouldn't say stay away from a great offense in Buffalo, but what are we seeing this Sunday? A blizzard.
Feet of snow.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple feet of snow will be up. And again, if you invested heavily in Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, at times Gabe Davis, you're feeling really good about that decision. But then when it's crunch time, playoff time, it gets cold. It's winter. Winter arrives early in Western New York. And so, but Justin Fields is going to deal with the same shit, right? It's cold in Chicago. That field gets gross. I know, Goz. I think Goz is going to say Jalen Hurts. It just like popped in my head a little bit. I'm not going to – if you want to keep it for one more second. I agree with you, Kyle, though. I think I still would lean I trust Patrick Mahomes more. He's got the longer resume. I know he can do it. He's looking really good. Justin Fields, though, I think I saw something. Isn't he a top 5 rusher this year? I think he's number 5 in total rushing yards for the NFL.
That's bizarre.
No, it's makes no sense, but that's just he's number 6.
Yeah.
Saquon, Derrick Henry, Chubb, Jacobs, Pierce, and then Justin Fields. It's been unbelievable. So yeah, if you got him on your waiver wire it's been one of the best months of football, and we've seen in a very, very long time.
And then the last thing I'll add is welcome to the show, TJ Hawkinson. Congratulations, you have a quarterback. TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, you look at what he did, 7 for 10 for 45 yards, 10 targets. And think about the game that Justin Jefferson just had. An elite, possibly one of the best wide receiver performances in NFL history. One of the up there in terms of, there was a stupid stat that Justin Jefferson's catch percentage was not 8 out of his 9 catches were under a 50% catch probability. And then the one-hander, which was unreal. But I really have a strong feeling, and it's a little bit of a hot take, that TJ Hawkinson will finish as tight end 2 this year.
Just behind Kelsey?
Yep. The only one that's going to be behind is Kelsey. He's currently tight end 4.
I don't think it'll be that hard, just because with Andrews falling behind injured, Ertz is now injured for the year. Waller hasn't played all year.
Who is Andrews tight end 2?
That'd be my guess. He hasn't played in basically 2 games.
Taysom Hill's floating around somewhere, right?
Gosh. We can finally end that experiment, right?
Yeah, Andrews is too, and I definitely totally forgot that Andrews has been hurt this whole time. So that doesn't.
Well, he's only missed. I believe he's missed 1 full game and like 95% of another,
and gimped through the others.
Yeah. So he's a guy that's potentially coming back, but yeah, I agree with you, man. It's the tight end position's been bizarre. Guys have looked really good and then put up goose eggs.
Looking at you, Cole Kmet.
Cole Kmet's come alive. I mean, Tyler Higbee had a goose egg the other week out of nowhere after having a similar 10 targets consistent stat line to nothing. I don't know. These tight end position's tough.
It's like the old school pie graph where you had a circle, Chet, Ray had a circle, and mine's kind of like in between with the percentages. I'll start with Ray's takes first. But to the Justin Fields thing, it's amazing how obvious it is now, but nobody says it, that Justin Fields is better than Trevor Lawrence right now. I don't know why no one just says it. Like, did I miss the ESPN or NFL Network analyst who said Justin Fields is better than Trevor Lawrence? It's so obvious, but nobody's like, oh, yeah, that's like, nobody wants to say it, but maybe that's a take for another non-fantasy discussion. But, and also back to the Hawkinson thing, Justin Jefferson, let's all feel old, is the modern day Moss for young NFL fans. Same team, same plays, same stats, taking over a game. All, kids are probably doing the Justin Jefferson now and all that stuff. To Chet, your question about Allen in the future and the Vikings and everything else, and to the quarterbacks, the one I was going to add is Dak Prescott. And I'm in love with the rest of Dak Prescott's season because it's a perfect mix of backup running back, CeeDee Lamb, even though his numbers have been good, they can get better. And he's got something to prove. That's always fun. And you've got a matchup coming up here later on in the season. You've got the Giants defense that's been really good. They got the Vikings this week. Then when it matters the most for you as a fantasy manager, Colts, Texans, Jaguars, Eagles at home, and week 17, if you get that far to a championship, you get the Titans. That is a beautiful stretch if Dallas is contending for a top dog. So I kind of combine that with, if you look at the East divisions, think about this. We have 8 teams, 25% of the NFL, AFC East, NFC East, are fighting for playoff spots. And it's a really easy take now to say they could all make it. But only 2 quarterbacks I trust in fantasy. Think about that. You have 8 teams fighting for playoff spots in divisions. First to last. And all I trust is Dak and Tua. Look, I get Josh Allen's there, but you guys both made great points. Turnovers and weather is going to play a factor here for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Tua, bye week here, but eventually we just have to say, like, okay, this is real. Like, if we played real or mirage, the Tua stuff's real. We can't deny it anymore. So the thing that we're sitting here in mid-November and that we believe in Dak Prescott and Tua to potentially lead you to a championship, it is all real involving those quarterbacks for the rest of the go.
I would have called you crazy. The Dak one, he's proved it before. But to be sitting here and looking at, I think the top 2 scorers the last month of fantasy has been Tua and Justin Fields. And it's just like, and that's why we play the game, right? Is you can do all the research in the world, and the first month of the season, you never would have guessed that those are the 2 guys that are, winning leagues right now and pushing people into the playoffs. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely wild.
All right, so we've got waiver wire coming up. I kind of have, with 4 weeks left to go in fantasy, I want you guys to think about this before we talk about our friends over at Mohawk Honda. A strategy you guys are willing to share how you're going to handle the last 4 weeks of the regular season, whether that's roster adjustments, whether that's a trade, whether that's something you're willing to share here that people are going to take away from this episode in November, whether it's staying away from people on short weeks with Thanksgiving's coming up. Sure. Let you guys think about that. But before we get your answers, I want to talk about Mohawk Honda. We are there tomorrow. If you're listening to this on a Wednesday, Thursday, November 17th, we are live Godzilla Media for Mohawk Honda. It is not too late to get yourself a new ride, a new vehicle at the end of 2022. Mohawk Honda wants to help you find the ride, whether it's the Pilot, whether it's the Passport, whatever it might be. Still, probably in about 6 weeks, I'll be done saying it. The supply chain and how weird it is. But 2023s are on the way, and this is the best time to do it when you've got Mohawk Honda on your side. I know I'm looking right outside of the Pilot now covered in snow. That used to not be snow out there. It's helping me get ready for those road trips on the way, especially this holiday season. And if you've got new additions coming to your family, whether it's that baby on the way, maybe you've got your in-laws, you didn't realize you needed to drive around this holiday season, you've got room. Mohawk Honda, shout out to Greg Johnson, Lindsey Harridan, Nick and Nate on social media, always crushing it. Make sure to check out their selection. It's Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. While you guys think, I kind of want to jump the gun, as usual. Goz has no etiquette sometimes when he gets excited about a topic.
Do any of us have etiquette?
This is one of the biggest things that hurt a younger version of me in fantasy football. This is probably more of a life thing now that I think about it. Is I feel like I'm going to therapy now of fantasy football helping me walk through. I get very stubborn when this goes to like preseason picks in football. This goes for like predictions. If a player has been good for 8 to 9 weeks of the season, there is a stubbornness of me that says, you know what? He's been good for 8 weeks. I got to keep him in the lineup. Like, he's been good all season. He's been consistent. That's all you want in fantasy is consistency. You got to keep him in the lineup. I kind of teased Taysom Hill there. Don't do that. Like, you've got 1 week. Matthew Berry, I will give him love on this. This is one of the biggest things I changed about fantasy football. Fantasy football is not, I used to hear it's a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's not true. It is a weekly sprint. Your goal is to have the best team out there every single week. The best advice I can offer to fantasy football managers is what I just said. If you've had a player like a Taysom Hill, Devonta Foreman's maybe in that mix too, like a certain guy who's been good for like a period that you feel like has helped you win games, you can't do that. Put your best lineup out every single week. Do not be stubborn. That is my best advice. I say that now, and I guarantee you on Sunday, Taysom Hill will be in my lineup and post a donut. But I am saying this out loud. I will play this back to myself on Sunday. My best advice, do not be stubborn. Put the best lineup out every single week.
I think the other example would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yes.
It's over. He's actually, in my opinion, he's very cuttable. Like, based on what your waiver wire looks like, don't just cut him just because you're annoyed, because he's still an injury away to Pacheco or McKinnon to maybe regaining some relevance in that offense. But yeah, just because he scored touchdowns in the first month of the season doesn't mean like he's not playing anymore. So yeah, I always get annoyed on this podcast and in group chats with you guys about us being too reactive. So don't overreact to one bad week from a guy who's been really good for the whole season. But if you're seeing a trend is different. If a guy's trending down, you cannot just put blinders on to recent performance. You need to be able to trust a guy to go out and deliver the big games.
Agreed.
Who wants the next one? Who's got a strategy they're willing to share, especially for our Dynasty League members who might now be fast forwarding through the episode of this part?
So I'll kind of share one of mine. I think it should be a common one, but it's something that a lot of people kind of forget. A lot of these fantasy apps now have the ability for people to go through and see what their playoff percentage is and see, hey, am I about to make the playoffs? Well, if you see yourselves in that 80% range, I'd say right now is the time to start looking 4 weeks ahead and not just next week. Look 4 weeks. So I've already started doing this in one of my league, Humble Flex. I'm 9-0 in our Dynasty League. And I have started
not, Kyle. It's week 11.
10-0? 10?
Whatever. Even better. Even better. Sorry, I literally woke up 30 minutes ago. But you are at this point now. Start looking ahead. I'm already looking at who on my roster to Goz and Chet's point has been meh. So I had Sky Moore in a dynasty league. I got rid of him because I looked at my roster. I said I have some of my keepable players, but he hasn't done anything. And I've already put another defense on my bench. So last week I went and added the Jets defense. And you're sitting there going, so you ran with 2 defenses? Yeah, I ran with 2 defenses because now I have a legit non-streamable defense that's going to sit there because they were on bye last week. And I have a 4-week playoff run defense where I'm looking at 1 week of them that I'm going to have to take a peek at. And that's week 14 against Buffalo. So this is where you look at now that you are in playoff mode and that you're saying, hey, I have a really good shot at making playoff. I have a two game lead against my peers in the division. Start looking ahead and start seeing where can you take an advantageous matchup in those playoff weeks so that you can be prepared and be one step ahead of everybody else.
I love that, Kyle, especially because usually those top defenses people hold on to. This year it's been Buffalo, Philadelphia. I think Tampa is probably in that mix as well. It's just like, I'm keeping that no matter the matchup, they're staying as my defense. However, teams mid-season tend to drop those teams on bye weeks. They don't think about, I'm just going to drop. If you pay attention to that, this is the time to see, all right, who's been dropping a good defense, who might have a really easy. And it's funny, I've been scouring that for weeks. Nothing really jumps out in terms of this defense has a cakewalk. The only one that I can remember is Philadelphia. And I don't think anybody's going to be dropping the Eagles defense, even though they had a subpar performance on what's today? Tuesday or Wednesday? That was on Monday that they had the subpar performance. And I think they have a pretty easy final stretch. But everybody else has like one nice game and 2 tough games or 3 average. It's nothing that's like slam dunk because I don't think there's that many terrible offenses. Right now, the Colts, I feel good about playing against them. Here's a trivia question for you guys. Who's the worst fantasy offense right now? So I guess the way to put it, which offense allows the greatest defense week in and week out scoring?
Maybe it's a recency bias. Are the Saints up there? I know Kamara had
probably
one
up there.
game.
It's not number 32.
Why do I feel like it's New England?
Nope. It's the LA Rams.
Woo!
Oh.
How shocking. And I still run away from having to face Sean McVay. But again, if we talk about, start reading the trends, it's a really bad offense that just lost Cooper Kupp and doesn't have a healthy Matt Stafford. That might be defense that'll be like, who do the Rams play the next 6 weeks of the season? So I think Kyle couldn't agree more. Start planning ahead. I thought what Kyle was going to say is that maybe he had learned from last year. Now more than ever, if you are in that position where you're in the driver's seat, you're in cruise control, you're looking good, make sure you shore up your handcuffs. Because you're one injury away from losing a key player. And if you don't have the handcuff and you don't have the waiver priority, ruh-roh, you could be kicking yourself when it comes playoff time. So I think if you didn't want to hold on to a guy who has very limited week in, week out value during the middle of the season, as Kyle's probably going to check right now to see who he can add as a handcuff. I think
you literally just reminded me that there's a new handcuff in LA.
Yeah, Spiller.
Thank you, Chet. I just grabbed him.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. Because Kyle literally lost a playoff matchup without having Justin Jackson last year when Eckler went down. So now he ensures if Eckler gets hurt in the next 3 weeks, he's got the guy that's next in line. So I think that's a really smart play.
6 to 7, by the way. That's the magic number here in mid-November. If you've got 6 or 7 wins, you're in pretty good shape. That's either 12-team or 14-team leagues. If you're in a 10-team league, you're going to be sweating it out. That's probably the most fun part about a smaller league is because these last 4 matchups really decide, and points scored, all that stuff really matters too. All right, so we've given strategies, we've given headlines. The waiver wire. Kyle, Ray, do we got any players that people are bold enough to stick into that lineup this week?
Yeah, there are actually a couple I think that you can look at sticking in. I think the one person that you can actually look at and say, hey, I'm willing to take a shot at that. We kind of mentioned it earlier with the tight ends position. I think Cole Kmet is worth an ad. Justin Fields has shown that he is looking for Cole Kmet every single game. Obviously, he's had 2 awesome fantasy performances back-to-back weeks, and he's just a solid red zone play. So love the ad of Cole Kmet. I definitely think he could be worth it, especially in an environment that tight ends are tough right now. You can trust Justin Fields in terms of I'm going to look for Cole Kmet. We talk a lot about tight ends getting targets, and that's the big one. But I think Cole Kmet could be somebody that you plug and play in your lineup. He's not owned in a lot of leagues. He's usually around 40% in leagues out there. So Cole Kmet might be worth an ad. And then it's also worth a sprinkle on Terry McBride with the Zach Ertz injury. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't. But Kyler Murray / Trace McSorley / whoever the hell's in at quarterback.
Colt McCoy, baby.
Colt McCoy. I was thinking that. I don't know why I thought Colt was for the Rams for a second there, but Terry McBride, he might have some value. So we'll see what happens. I definitely think if you can put a waiver claim in for Cole Kmet, that's number one. I don't know if I'm willing, if you have like one of those top waiver priorities, like we were saying, I don't think it's worth the waste on Trey McBride. Definitely, I think there's better value out there. When you're looking at the running back position, there's 2 that stands out. One I'm expecting to be owned in a lot more leagues. Rashad White. I'm expecting Rashad to be owned in a lot more leagues that are competitive. Right now, he's around the 20 to 25% in most leagues. But he showed that he's got burst. Goz, you know better than anybody. Lard Nard Fat Net has struggled a little bit. Can't run. I think he took some offense to White getting some touches last week because he looked better than he ever had. However, there's just a lot more speed. There's a lot more athleticism when Rashad White's in the backfield. I definitely wouldn't mind adding Rashad White from my waiver and almost as potentially stashing him for a little bit and seeing what happens in that backfield. My second running back, Pacheco. If Pacheco is still there, I would be using a waiver claim for Pacheco. That backfield right now is a little bit of a mess, and he has some burst. And the other thing that a lot of people kind of forget, Isaiah returns every single kickoff, and that dude has speed. You just need to get him one lane, and he's gone. You always have that ability to get 6 more points on a kickoff. And he's seeing about 50 to 55% of the snaps week in and week out. Love the ad of Isaiah Pacheco too. He could provide you some solid depth / starting capabilities going into the playoffs as CEH continues to struggle. I do expect Jerick McKinnon to still get a majority of the receiving targets. However, Pacheco just looks like the better runner in every single facet of the game. And then last but not least, there's only one wide receiver that I'm kind of going to note on. People are probably going to hate me for not mentioning Nico Collins. So sure, go grab Nico. I'm just not a fan of Davis Mills throwing the ball. I can never trust it. Ironically, Donovan Peoples-Jones has had a sneaky good year. As a Michigan State fan who hates Michigan, the dude's put up some good numbers, and he has. Whoa, what was that? That
your voice just changed?
That was weird. And DPJ has had just some consistent games, and he's showing that breakaway speed in a lot of different scenarios. And don't forget, Deshaun Watson's about to come back. If Deshaun Watson can come back a shell of himself, obviously we know the value of Amari Cooper is going to skyrocket. But that wide receiver 2 is owned by Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he will be able to win you some matchups in a flex option. You lose a Keenan Allen. Say the Chargers put Keenan Allen on the shelf. You don't have a necessarily bad replacement in Donovan Peoples-Jones. He has that breakaway ability. He could get more targets with the extra attention that Amari Cooper might get if Deshaun Watson comes back and plays strong. But I definitely don't hate the ad of Donovan Peoples-Jones either. So kind of a loaded waiver wire this week. Lots of people that are out there. So kind of pick and choose what you want to grab. Sometimes wait and see what clears through waivers because there are a lot. But try to shore up some of your roster spots. And like we said earlier, look at some of these guys' matchups for weeks 15, 16, and 17. It could provide a ton of value for you.
I'm surprised you didn't say Christian Watson.
I think we mentioned him 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, so you said enough's enough. I've already said it once. I'm not saying it again.
We have not hit the point yet of, and people will remember certain names of like lower tier, and I say that as complimentary as I can, players that have impacts in the playoffs, like a Samcon Ghana will burn in my memory. There's a Titan running back that's been banned. We won't mention by Chet Davis's name, that it will be burned in his memory. Deion Lewis helped me win a championship. We're not there yet. We're in that spot, that famous Conor McGregor press conference where he turns around and says, who the f- is this guy? That's next week in Thanksgiving. When you start looking with your family, like, how am I losing to this guy? Yeah. Who is this guy that so-and-so start? That's next week. But we are approaching that part of the season with those players coming. On abbreviated version, I got to run. I know you guys are busy. Enjoy it. Thanksgiving is next week. Keep the stress level down. Playoffs are on the way. Boys, we'll talk again next week.
See ya.